Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fraidy Geeks. It is Jason, Dan, and Mike here to discuss a childhood favorite of mine. We'll get into that in a minute. Dan, do you want to go ahead and kick us off?
Today we are covering Stephen King's It, the TV miniseries from 1990. 90 or 91? I'm going to go with 90.
90.
All right. Are we going to do it with synopsis or?
Sure.
Okay. Basically, a long time ago in the 50s, a group of kids band together to beat what they see then as their worst fears, and it covers anything from movies or anything. It can be whatever they're scared of, and it's killing off like the kid population, kind of like Freddy Krueger, but instead of a street, a whole town. So they all band together and they make the Losers Club, and they stop it. But they know it's not dead, and they know they're probably going to have to come back because it comes back every so many years. So they all go, and we're going to cover the book or the movie because we could do
the movie.
Okay, we don't get the giant turtle. Come on.
I'm still listening to the book, and I didn't realize that the guy from The Shining is in this book too.
Is he?
Yeah. Halloran.
Oh, damn. I didn't realize that either. I got to reread that. It's on my shelf. Anyway, so they all become successful adults. One's an architect, one's a famous writer, except for the one that stayed in the town as the town librarian. And he calls them all back because it's all starting again. And they have to face the giant monster at the end yet again to finally kill it. That's basically it without a whole lot of spoilers that I'm sure we're going to get into later anyway. This movie was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, who I didn't realize until I did some research for this because I don't want to look like a total dumbass. But he also did Fright Night 2, what was some kind of tech on John Carpenter's The Fog. Like he's one of John Carpenter's groupies. He also directed Vampires Los Muertos, the sequel to Vampires, John Carpenter's Vampires, and Fright Night 2. Oh, Halloween 3.
I love Halloween 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the black sheep of the Halloweens, but I always kind of liked it. Mike, what do you think?
About him?
About the
or
film.
About in general? Yeah, so my history with this miniseries, I guess it started out as on TV, was that I didn't see it when I was younger. It's not that like I was too scared to or that I was forbidden to see it for some reason, because when you're around that age when this movie came out, sometimes parents can be a little like, watch what the kid watches. It just never found its way in my orbit until about high school, when I was a little bit more aware of it. I mean, had been aware of it before, because I had friends in grade school and middle school, kind of growing up, who had serious fears of clowns because of this movie. But looking on it now, or when I did first see it, I can appreciate that there are some scary ideas in it. It is kind of messed up and disturbing, but it just never really personally scared me on any level, like creeped me out or anything really. Because honestly, I found Tim Curry to be kind of enjoyable in this, and even when he puts on his fangs and yellow eyes and stuff like that, I'm still like, that's Tim Curry being funny and weird, and. It was kind of cool. I like now when I'm able to look back on it and kind of see like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was so and so in this movie and everything. Like young Seth Green as one of the kids, and who the guy who plays him was wasn't he the judge from Night Court?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, who plays his adult version. Like, that's mainly what I remember this for. Is looking back, I'm like, oh my god, it's Seth Green. It's the guy from Judge Harry. It's John Ritter, who honestly was my favorite character throughout the entire story, just because he was kind of very much a punching bag for all the other characters when he was a kid. Not the characters who made up the Stand By Me crew, essentially, but like all the antagonists had it out for him. His own adoptive family had it out for him. He was a fatter kid and things like that. And then as he grew up and tried to cover up those insecurities and subdue his love for Beverly, it was I actually kind of enjoyed that story the most out of all the characters, but I'd say the characters are very well written and performed, I feel. It's just that as a horror movie, it didn't really horrify me or scare me, really. And the reveal of what Pennywise is, I was kind of like, oh, okay, that's kind of out of nowhere, but okay, sure. Let's shoot rocks at this thing, slingshot rocks at this thing, and spray it with battery acid. Why not? It's funny you mentioned the giant turtle, Dan, because a little trivia here, and this is something I knew due to Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation.
Yeah.
The guy who played young Henry Bowers, the bully.
Yeah. Okay.
He was actually the body performer for apparently Michelangelo in that Ninja Turtles show. I found that out because I did a review of Ninja Turtles: Next Mutation couple years ago for my old channel, and I was like, oh my god, apparently he was the kid from It who loved to threaten kids with knives. Great. And anyways, we'll probably get into other stuff, but Jason.
This movie I was obsessed with when it came out in 1990. I saw it. I rented this movie so many times from the Meyer video store that the guy bought it for me and gave it to me. Like, I think I rented it 87 times is what he told me. Like, I was really obsessed. I loved this film. I don't know why. I think it's the camaraderie between the kids growing up, and I think that's why I connected it in such a young age as somebody who's kind of like the outcast kid himself. I was able to relate to this movie on that level. But watching it as an adult, the first half of this movie is awesome. I think it's really well done. Second half of this movie, the tone changes pretty dramatically from the horror to, because it's harder to make this kind of movie and focus it on adults. I get it. John Ritter is one of my favorite actors to ever grace television. I love everything this guy is in. Guilty pleasure or not, Problem Child, It, Three's Company, whatever. John Ritter. Even I didn't know it was John Ritter. Watching it as a kid, I had no idea it was the same guy from Problem Child because they throw a beard on him anytime he's in an adult role, and I did not recognize him. And then Jonathan Brandis was like the big teen throb at that time. Seth Green, I didn't even know that was Seth Green until last year, I think.
Yeah. With the Brandis thing, was this after his Neverending Story Part 2 role, or is it before it?
I think it was after it.
Okay.
Because I was listening to the commentary a little bit, and they were saying how he was kind of like the quote-unquote celebrity on set, demanding this, demanding that kind of thing. And then, they made a joke about how Seth Green never amounted to anything after doing It.
Seth Green snuck into a lot of old stuff, too. Like, as a, child actor.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the ending of this movie is stupid, but it's not it's way better than the book. If that Stephen King is really good at concepts, he's just not good at ending them. So, but overall, this is probably one of my favorite horror movies just because it got to me at such a young age, but I can definitely see some of the inconsistencies now as an adult, especially in the second half.
I mean, for a TV movie, production values are pretty high, and this has a higher standard than most of those. If you remember the other stuff that came out around the same time, like the stuff they would put on the Lifetime channel now, like They Stole My Baby.
A deadly adoption.
Nice. No, but this, especially for the first half, it looks really good. and the scares are all in the right places. None of the makeup is that awful. like for a made-for-TV thing. I mean, was this NBC?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think it was. Okay. I mean, it's not bad, and I hate to shame it for the last half, but I almost have to.
The last half. Here's my belief on it, is that the first half of it, yeah, you're right, is the more compelling part. Is if you were to get creeped out by it, it would have the more impact there because it is happening to kids, and it's happening to pretty innocent and decent kids too. So you don't want horrible things to happen to them, of course. But then when you get into the second part, and where you have hints of it in the first part a little bit, but in the second part you see full on like how kind of embittered some of the characters are, or how they kind of grew up, it becomes very melodramatic, like to the point where it's kind of funny at times, and not because Tim Curry's in the background hooping and hollering, but because some of their melodrama is a little kind of amped up for needless reasons.
Yeah. I've got to go as Harry Shearer as my favorite actor in this one, the Night Court dude.
Oh, Harry Anderson, you mean, right?
Harry Anderson. What the hell am I
Andy
thinking?
Shearer. That's the guy
Harry
from-
Shearer is Kent Brockman.
Oh God, jeez, I just looked it up too. What the hell? All right, Harry. That's why we shouldn't do these in mornings. Because he's supposed to be like the TV and radio funny guy, right? So he's like horrified for the whole like second part of this. Like they go and they have Chinese food and like weird pincher things come out of the fortune cookies. One has an eyeball and one just has this giant blood pack in it. But he tries to mitigate that with like comedy, even though he's scared out of his wits, and he ends up with like his eyes bugging out and kind of like forcing a smile. I don't know. I kind of like the way he took his character.
Mhm.
I think it's better than how the rest were written. They're just like all screaming and running away. Like I like. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I will say he really has to elevate his performance in the second half too, because there is a point where he is not playing off of directly, but he has to play against Tim Curry in the background, essentially. And I think he might be the only character who really has that much, the only adult character who has that much screen time with him. Because it's that scene where he's like, where is he? He's at the Hall Records or the library or something, and there's Tim Curry up on the balcony just like cackling, and he's trying to like sound sane and reasonable as he's trying to communicate to this woman what he needs to get done. But you have like Tim Curry in the background going, and stuff, and I'm just like, okay, so I give him props for that, definitely.
And Tim Curry has like the lamest jokes ever for the clown character. Like, "Hello, ma'am, is your refrigerator running? Well, you better go out and stop it." And it's just like, oh God, man. But I don't know. I mean, I don't like the downplay, and I know the ending is bad. I totally give it that. Especially the whole I'm gonna wake up my wife from a coma by driving down the middle of, or by riding my bike with her on it down the middle of the street, and then it's a happy ending for all. It's still a better ending than that redo of The Shining.
With Steven Weber.
Steve
Yeah.
Weber, the guy who's reading the It book to me.
Oh,
Dude, that was awful.
I don't know. I haven't seen that remake in a long time. It's a freaking watch. It's like 18 hours long. But yeah, it's almost I get the ending of the television miniseries way better than I understand the book's ending, because the whole concept of the first half was, well, if you believe it can happen. Like, you need to believe it. Like the old childhood, if a kid believes in something, he believes in it. And him, taking his wife out is his wife coming back. It's because he believes in it. I kind of can understand that, given what they showed us in the first half of this movie. But, and I mean, in the book, another thing that's a little bit better than the book is, in the book, they leave their good friend Eddie down in the cave after he's been snapped in half. At least in the movie, they honor the guy by taking his body out of the cave.
Yep.
So wow, neither one is any good. The movie ending is way better than the book by a long shot. I make that joke every time I watch a Stephen King movie now. Like when I watched 11/22/63, I'm like, I better not be a spider at the end of this thing, or I'm gonna be pissed.
Oh no, but that had its own problems. I read the book. I didn't bother doing the miniseries, but I like the giant spider ending of this though, because in the book, sorry, spoilers, Jason.
I've read it many times.
Okay.
He just likes to listen to it.
In the book, there's this whole thing where the main kid has to tie up his tongue with the spider until it jokes, and the first one to laugh loses. In this, they just bum rush the spider and like rip it apart, which I think is a much better game plan personally.
That's very that was very Tolkienish of him to be like, well, have a game of riddles with it.
Yeah, it's like no. That's not what you do with giant spiders. I mean, I'm sorry. I like how they did. I forget the kid's name, but the one kid who lives after going into the tunnels.
Stan?
The main bad kid.
Oh, Henry.
Yeah. I like how they do his whole, the clown's face on the moon, and then his best buddy comes back as a zombie, and then he turns into a dog head.
A dog, yeah.
That whole part I find sufficiently creepy. I mean, it's a made-for-TV movie. It can't go into rated R. It can barely go into PG-13 as we know it.
That's actually what I was kind of thinking of as I kind of revisited it, was the idea of how you can tell very much that this was made for a mainstream TV channel, and how if this was handled, say this got the Kubrick treatment.
Oh God.
I guarantee you, maybe some stuff would probably be interpreted way differently, like what he did with The Shining. But maybe some more stuff we brought in actually from the original story. Like, I think Kubrick would have been like, "Yeah, Beverly's gonna sleep with all of them."
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of implied in the TV movie a little bit, because she goes around open mouth kissing like everybody in this movie.
Yeah.
But then, like in the original story, that was part of the whole narrative, right? Was that she had to sleep with all of them to kind of like bury their memories or something, correct?
No, I thought she had to sleep with all of them so that they would have like good, because that's a big memory, losing virginity. So I thought that they would all have to remember at least something of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It is a camaraderie thing. That's what they used in the movie with the asthma inhaler to signify that sort of shared moment.
Yeah, I just remember at some point in the story that it had to tie into, why they kind of went their own ways, and, why it took so long to come back in a way. But I guarantee if Kubrick was alive and was like, yeah, I'll take another swing at a King thing, that would have been in there.
I don't think Stephen King would let him.
No, yeah, he probably would be like, you stay away from this.
Nah, Stephen King hated The Shining.
Yeah, because when he made the sequel to The Shining, the book, he told everybody that you need to read my book or see the made-for-TV movie, because if you come off the Kubrick version, there's some things you're not going to understand. But I'm curious to see how they're going to remake this, because they're remaking it right now with a hard R, and it sounds like they're going to follow the formula of the television miniseries. And with the right director, this could be something that could be horrifying now.
It could be. I don't know. Like, as with any remake, I kind of just don't hold my breath for something great. I'm sorry. I'm a cynical bastard when it comes to that.
I mean, do they have a director or creative team already pinned down for it? I knew they were talking about who they want to cast as Pennywise, but
Yeah, they have a cast. They just started principal photography. Hold
Oh,
on.
okay.
Let me see if I can pull it up and let you know who the director is. But
Because that'll probably make or break my feelings on it.
Like
Oh, we were
halfway
wrong,
through
by
the
the way.
production.
It
Oop,
wasn't NBC originally. It was ABC.
it was ABC.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow, ABC.
that's even better, honestly. No, like watch, like halfway through the casting of this, they're gonna put Jared Leto as Pennywise, and
It was. I can't remember who the kid. Pardon.
It's Bill Skarsgård is playing Pennywise.
What's he done before?
He was in what's that Netflix show? Hemlock Grove. He was also
Oh.
in Hemlock Grove. That's always been.
Okay.
Let me check. I think the kid pulled it off. While that show wasn't the best, I think he was pretty good in it. And then the director is Andres Muschietti. He did the movie Mama.
That has potential for being pretty like, and Mama was a PG-13, so
yeah,
I remember there were points of that genuinely creeped me out. But I have a feeling it's gonna go the same route as Mama did too, where the first half of Mama is far more interesting than the last half. Because in the last half, they just full on show you Mama all the time, and then it gets progressively less and less creepy.
And then it's written by the guy who wrote Annabelle.
oh jeez.
Okay. Annabelle was okay, but it's no Conjuring. So
Annabelle was pretty damn bad, man. I'd have to say.
I didn't have as big an issue with Annabelle. It's definitely the inferior product, but
Mm.
yeah.
Meh. Okay, what else we got? We got good actors. We got decent sound. We got decent production for TV. We got a
Very for that time too, especially.
I'm
relatively good director.
I'm actually curious though. Is that did this miniseries in particular cause like a resurgence of TV miniseries? 'Cause, I mean, it was earlier on, in my childhood, so I didn't really watch a lot of TV miniseries to begin with. But I somehow remember that after this came out, like we saw like a Stephen King miniseries
Yeah.
every year. Like after this, isn't it like The Stand and Langoliers and Tommy Knocker,
Yeah, I mean,
Storm of
this
the
at least
Century?
this at least showed that the Stephen King miniseries would get people watching. I don't know if it helped anybody else's, but but yeah, this also brought to the forefront Mick Garris to come and direct all of those, who I'm not a fan of, but
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah, it did start the miniseries renaissance, especially the Stephen King renaissance, because this movie came out and it was a big ratings like giant. I think they spread it across 2 nights, and then Tommy Knockers, Langoliers with the Pac-Man fighting the airplane. That was
Yeah.
fun. And The Stand, which I've never seen The Stand. Maybe we should do an episode of The Stand sometime. But yeah, it did all of them, even the theatrical ones.
Yeah, the Stand is not too bad. I mean, I would not have a problem doing one of these on it.
Awesome. What are your ratings for it, Dan?
Oh, geez.
Do part 1 and part 2.
Part 1, I would get a 7. Part 2, I would give a 5.
I'd say I'm along the same lines as Dan. Part 1, I'd give a 7. Part 2, I'd give a 6, just because we do get some more Tim Curry in there, and I do love me some Tim Curry. So, like, I'm convinced if you were to ask Tim Curry to come back to the role, he could probably do this role again.
Oh, hell yeah.
And
Yeah.
have as much energy as he did when he first did it. So, yeah, 7 and 6. So an average of, I guess, 6.5 or whatever. It's early in the morning. I can't do averages.
You got 6.5, I got 6, so we're good.
Because of the sadistic child in me and the obsession I had with this film from age 8 to all of my child. You can ask Max, who does the Three Geeks podcast with us. I lent him this movie, or maybe we watched it together. I don't remember. But Max would not sit on a toilet, take a shower, or pee unless the door was wide open and somebody was standing in the hallway making sure nothing came out of it. This is probably the movie that ruined horror films for Max, because I don't think he ever watched another one after this, because he wouldn't even, like, he didn't want to know when we were doing this cast. He didn't want to be anywhere near any of us when we were doing this cast.
I can't wait to give him so much shit about that tomorrow.
Like that story, I don't know.
Or even today.
Exactly. I do remember the bathroom door had to be open and he wouldn't take a shower. I do remember that. But he wasn't the only one. I mean, my buddy Jay had a similar experience, and Robbie, my brother-in-law, they were all so petrified. But for some reason, I just kept wanting to watch this movie. I just freaking loved it. So the first half of this movie, for me, and the baggage I carry with it's probably an 8, and then the second half is a 6. And the reason I give the second half a 6, even though I think it's the weaker film, is because it still has John Ritter in it. And like I said, anytime John Ritter, not in movies, but anytime John Ritter is on my television screen, whether it's a TV movie or a TV series, I will watch it because I think John Ritter is awesomely talented.
Yeah, there were a couple of things like like I said before, you kind of go back and revisit. You're kind of like, oh yeah, that was that person. How awesome is that? Like this, I remember this being like the miniseries that introduced me to Annette O'Toole's epic cry face, which I would become very familiar with her epic cry face in Smallville.
Yeah,
that show demanded her to cry a lot, and so I remember her being in here and crying a lot and screaming a lot too. So.
Everybody else gets knocked out. She cries. That's how Smallville goes.
But we will be doing this monthly, and we're going to change the format of this show a little bit. We're going to do more than one movie at a time, which I think should be fun. So we'll get more details on that very shortly. Dan, Mike, you have anything to add?
No, I mean, if you want to see an icon of Jason and Max's early years,
yeah,
go see it.
I would say definitely if you've got like maybe I'd say around 10 or 11 years old to kind of test the waters with them on this with regards to horror, because I feel it could be kind of a fun introduction to some actual legitimately creepy stuff for younger people.
I'm starting to think I was a baby because I did watch this with my kids. They are 6, 8, and 9. And not one of them got scared. They're like, Dad, what's the big deal? This movie isn't scary. I'm like, come on.
They're so jaded.
But, yeah, you guys have anything to add? Dan?
No, I think I'm good.
Mike?
They all float.
They do
Down
all
here.
float. And we all float tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, so check out the Three Geeks Live podcast. We will be discussing all of the fun news. We're going to be talking about Kevin Smith's Cop Out and one of my favorite comedies, Zack and Miri Make a Porno, which I watched with the wife and brother-in-law, and it was kind of funny. Every time a kid would walk in the house, we'd shoo him out as quick as possible. But yeah, definitely join us tomorrow night, which I believe we're having special guest Jason Fury from NeverEndingRadicalDude.com and another special guest, which I'm still trying to lock down. So thank you from all of us at Fraidy Geeks. Don't forget to hit that like button down below. Leave us a comment. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out Mike at youtube.com/MikeMcGTV. Tonight's podcast was brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/3geeks. for all of your audiobook needs. Whether you like to read, don't read, can't read, don't know how to read, go to Audible, download Stephen King's It, and listen to it read by the guy who played the father in the Shining reboot. There's something for you.
Yes.
And from all of us, have a great day.